everyone, and welcome back to the next episode of Mammal Monday. Today we're going to be talking about two different species that look very similar and are both found in Georgia. Today we're going to be talking about the red and gray fox. So let's get started. Both the red and the gray fox are found within the family Canidae, alongside all of the coyotes, wolves, and dogs of the world. These two species are found within the same weight and size class, with the gray fox being a little bit smaller than the red. The tail of both these species is extremely long and will often be 70% of the total head and body length. The tail is also something that we use to differentiate between the two species. While it's not 100%, most of the time the gray fox will have a tail tipped in black, while the red fox will have a tail tipped in white. However, the marking on their forearms and back legs will be vice versa. The gray fox will have white markings, while the red fox will typically have black. The gray fox will typically also have black along its cheeks, and the red fox will have black lining at the back of its ears. And while hybridization between the two species is still being looked at, there are some species of fox that have mix and match characteristics, especially with the red fox having multiple different color variations. Red foxes can be melanistic or albino. Melanistic just means that they appear to be darker or have more melanin in their fur, while albino means that they're completely lacking pigmentation in their fur and they will appear to be white. You can also look at the coyote's tracks in order to determine which species is which. Because of their lifestyle, gray foxes will have retractable claws often found within their footprints. And because they are more adapted to warmer climates than red foxes, their tracks will be a lot more pretty because they don't have a bunch of dense fur found within their toe pads. But the most foolproof way of determining whether a fox is a red or a gray fox is to look at their skull. Temporal ridges are bony protrusions that are typically found on the top of the skull that often symbolize where two parts of the bone fuse together. In the case of the red fox, their temporal ridges will have more of a V shape, while the gray fox will have more of a U shape. This corresponds perfectly with their scientific names, with the red fox being Vulpes vulpes and the gray fox being Urocyon cinrio-argentinus. Both of these two species have very similar life histories, so we're going to talk about them as a whole first before we break them up into two different species. Like I mentioned in our Halloween episode, red fox and gray fox breeding season takes place in the winter. This is why the red and gray fox coats look the prettiest during the winter. They're still trying to find a mate. After breeding, the mom will stay pregnant for up to 2 months, giving birth from anywhere to 1 to 12 pups in the springtime. The mother foxes will give birth within a den in order to keep their babies safe. The pups will also be a dark brown or gray color in order to camouflage away from predators. In only 1 month, the pups will turn a vibrant gray or red color depending on the species and be ready to go leave their den and play. All during this time, the father fox will hunt for the entire family and bring his prize kills back to the mom and their pups. This will continue as the pups are learning to hunt and while mom is getting back on her feet, up until the fall when the pups are ready to leave the den. Once the pups are old enough to leave the den, the mother and father will often leave the den as well and sleep more out in the open. In order to stay warm, they use that big fluffy tail in order to curl up and tuck their nose and face within their tail. The most commonly known predator that hunts upon gray and red foxes is the coyote. However, bobcats and birds of prey such as eagles, great horned owls, and hawks are often found preying upon the pups of the foxes. While there is much overlap between the two species' home ranges, the red fox typically likes to stay up in the colder climates, while the gray fox tends to stay within the more south or colder climates. This is where we're now going to talk about both of the species individually. The red fox is more of a habitat generalist and can be found anywhere from prairies to farmlands to open wooded areas to a neighborhood park. They like more of a heterogeneous habitat type and will often be found in places where multiple different habitat niches can be found. They might use one location to breed while another location to hunt and another location to hide during the day. The red fox is mostly nocturnal, but if the prey species they're targeting are diurnal, they will then change their behavior in order to get the most food. The red fox has amazing hearing, and when hunting species that burrow underneath the ground, they use a tactic called mousing. Mousing occurs when a rodent or another burrowing species is found under the ground, and the fox hear it. They will jump up in the air and dive into the snow or the soft ground in order to get to the species. When they catch the prey, they will often eat their fill and then continue to hunt in order to create seconds. Much like the feline species, they will catch their prey and often bury it underneath snow, dirt, or leaves. Red foxes are known to eat small mammals, rodents, amphibians, and because they're omnivorous, even some species of berries and fruit. This diet is very similar to the gray fox, although they don't use the hunting practice of mousing. Instead of using mousing, the gray fox will use its retractable claws in order to climb trees to get the prey species that are found up there. While up in the trees, they can eat unguarded eggs, they can scoop up hatchlings, and they can even avoid predators. This is why you can typically find gray foxes and coyotes living together. In order to escape getting eaten or competing for food, they will just climb the trees while the red fox cannot. And while the gray fox can scale up the tree quite easily due to its retractable claws, it often injures itself when coming down. When comparing their general behaviors, the red fox is often more outgoing than the gray fox. The gray fox follows more of the reputational fox behavior, with it being shy and cowardly around humans, while the red fox is a little bit more brave. And that is all the time we have left for this Mammal Monday. Because this was a shorter episode, we thought it would be fun to add a quiz to the end to see if you can tell the difference in between a gray or a red fox. So keep on watching to play along. Just in case you couldn't get a good look at the coloration of this fox, you know it's a gray fox because it is found within a tree. Again, we kind of try to trick you with this one with the red fox having some salt and pepper coloration on its face. However, because of the black legs and the black tipped ears, we know that it is a red fox. And again, for our last one, we have another red fox with the V-shaped temporal ridges that stand for vulpes vulpes. And that is our last question of our quiz. Thank you all so much for watching, and make sure to comment down below and let us know how you did. Until next week, bye!